What is up, my ninjas? I am STRYDENT, and I'm back with another video. It's been a long time. I've been struggling with doing YouTube for obvious reasons. It's become ridiculous over the years, and lately it's just been kind of so I am at the request of a couple of my ninjas. I'm giving you the update of updates because there's a lot of figures here that I mentioned before that I haven't got a chance to review, and I'm getting to them slowly but surely, because you know me, I'm not chasing the trends, but some of them will fall into that. So, I am here with Little STRYDENT.
Hi.
You can say what's up, my ninjas, or something. And him and I are just going to kind of chat about, well, I'm going to talk, he'll probably just jump in where he can, about these figures here. So this isn't going to be a one-on, like 100% a review, because there's a bunch of these that I am going to do full-on reviews. If you notice, the movie Ninja Turtles are not here because I'm working on the review for them as we speak. I've already got footage shot for that, so that's coming out very soon. I told you it was coming. I make my promises, I mean it. Some of these guys, like the solo figures you see here, I've had some of them for a while, but I recently just picked up Val, and that completes my little team, because I really dug Solo. A lot of people didn't dig it. I like it. The scoundrels and the pilots and the smugglers, those are my favorite people. And Chewbacca is my favorite, so this is my second Chewbacca. I actually got another one that I'm sending to ODC, that's me. He missed out on Chewbacca for some odd reason. I think his side of town, like he's in New York, his portion of New York, upstate, Buffalo, they didn't get it, or at least his area didn't get it. My area here in Columbus, Ohio, we see him all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
We see him in where? What stores?
Walmart, Target.
Yeah, and I think we've even seen him at Barnes and Noble, at least once or twice, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I figured I'd pick one up for him because he always helps me out, and you know, it's a symbiotic relationship. This is how this goes. So I have finished my team. Val was the last one. She is a dope figure. I'm gonna try to maneuver her in front of the light and the camera so you guys can see her a little bit up close. But she's a beautiful figure. They did a really good job with her big old afro and stuff. And she's got really good articulation. But, you know, we're just giving you, like I said, a brief overview of what this figure is all about. And she's dope. She's real dope. So I can have her and Beckett looking badass, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And, you know, I've got the team. I couldn't believe that I found Rio. Because one day, and I told you guys this story already, we were at Walmart, and we passed by, and I saw all of them, and I was like, who the hell is Rio? And then I pick it up, and I'm like, oh, it's the forearm dude. I'm like, I got to get him. And then Little STRYDENT convinced me to get just about everybody else. Because Beckett was there. I already had Han. Cora was there, and so was Londo. And I hate Donald Glover. I'm not a fan of Donald Glover at all. And Little STRYDENT was like, you need to get him. You got to get him. It looks just like him. And I mean, he wasn't lying. It does look just like him. I mean, look at that. I got to do better with this light. I know it's always like I'm trying to show everybody what he looks like, and you can hardly tell. But like, look at that. Look at how good that looks. That looks just like Donald Glover, man. With his Frederick Douglass haircut and everything, it looks so good. So yeah, I had to pick that up, and I don't regret it. I'm glad I let Little STRYDENT talk me into buying another figure. So yeah, that's the cast and crew of Solo. It was cool because I was able to get, I think when I got the rest of them, I got Bespin Han Solo, which is the one with the blue jacket, older Han Solo, remember? What? You remember? He's gesturing. So, yeah, that's the whole Solo crew. I love them. I really dig Beckett, man. Like, even though he was kind of a jerk, the movie is a Western, and he feels so much like the antagonist from like a Western, you know, from some type of old cowboy film. Complete with the belt, with the pistols, you know. He's just, that's dope. I wish that he had a different head with the goofy hat that he had on, but that's a really small wish and nitpick. Even these guns, man, they look like they came straight out of Mad Max or Cops. If I can get this one out of his holster. Yeah, these things fit super tight. Good God, look at this beefeater. It's ridiculous. They did such a good job with this huge pistol. I mean, look at that. Ka-chow. Black cow, black cow. Bong, bong. Have a nice dream. It's dope. They did a great job with that. I'm very, very happy with this figure. It's one of my favorites, actually. So I can have Woody Harrelson and Blade, or, you know, Wesley Snipes together. Because they were in Money Train together, and they were in White Man Can't Jump. You didn't see either of those? We will watch Money Train one day. But yeah, so that's Black Series stuff from Solo. I gotta put a spotlight on Rio. Rio is a dope figure. And I think he might be something similar. I wonder if he's something similar to what Maz Kanata is. Because she doesn't have 4 arms. But she has that... Stop whispering, man. We're talking together. Tell me. What? Who's Maz Kanata? You can say that out loud.
Who's Maz Kanata?
You're safe. No one's going to make fun of you if you don't know. Maz Kanata, remember the short lady from Force Awakens? She kind of looks like him. Her face kind of looks like that. She has glasses that make her eyes real big. And she gave Rey the lightsaber. That's Maz Kanata. But yeah, this figure's dope. The 4 arms, they got that off where they actually feel natural. They don't look weird. They fit. I had issues with this goggles. They fell off, and then I couldn't find them for the longest time. And then as soon as I found them, I glued them on in the back right here so that they won't move. So like I can, you know, pull them up like that, but they won't fall off the top of his head. But I mean, this dude is dope. If I had a spaceship for him to, like pilot, I might rig up a setup to have him actually piloting something and create, you know, seats and all that stuff using Bionicle pieces and all that and some other Legos and stuff. We'll see. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a while. But anyway, that is what I'm going to say about the Solo figures. Let me move them out of the way so we can talk about some of these other Black Series, because as you can see with this spread, Hasbro's been dominating lately. It's like more than half of what's up here came from Hasbro. And then the other half came from Neca. And then there's a little bit of Bandai. And who else? I think that's it. A little bit of Bandai. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I really collect, to be honest. But yeah, Hasbro all over the place. Hasbro, damn. I didn't even think about that, man. Hasbro and Bandai holding it down. So, who you want to talk about next? It's got to be like Star Wars stuff, because we're getting them out the way.
I'll say Darth Revan.
Oh, look at you. So I found Darth Revan on what is it, on Amazon. I got him for about $13-14, which is weird. And then right after I found him, he went up. He was like in the 20s or 30s. I was like, wow, seriously? But he's a pretty cool figure. He's kind of simple design-wise. Like, there's not very much to him. But he looks good. Very mysterious looking. I know this lighting doesn't do him as much justice because you can't see all of what makes him dope. What I did do, though, is the lightsaber. So he came with a purple lightsaber, like Mace Windu. He has these prongs, as you see right here, that go all the way around. It's like 3 of them that go around. But he had a tiny blade, which is what you see in Mace Windu's lightsaber. And the peg that went into that lightsaber was thick, but the peg that went into this blade, this purple blade, was not so thick. It was really thin, but it held in here securely, and it didn't bend. and in there it wobbled around. So what I did was I glued this big lightsaber blade into this lightsaber, and then I put this one that you can remove into that lightsaber. So, you know, they're both securely fit in there. But Revan's pretty dope. They did a good job with his sculpt. They did a good job. I'm going to just stand him up, and then I'm going to move my camera around so that you guys can see what these folks look like, because I want you to see how good some of this stuff actually is. So, let's look at Darth Revan. You see how good he looks. What's going on? Hurry up. No, don't look. So, you can see all the details. That is the front. And here's the back. He's got soft goods, everything. And it all looks really cool. There's actually like holes in his rips and tears and holes in his cape. I didn't do that this time, which is nice that I didn't have to go in and do some heavy customizing to get this to look right. Hasbro did it first, which is dope, because that's the way it should be. You pay enough money for these things, they should come fixed. They should come exactly how they're supposed to be. So that's Revan. You like Revan?
Yeah.
Why do you sound like you're acting? Just talk. Don't act.
He's a cool figure.
Yeah? What's cool about him?
He has, like, kind of in between good, bad. Lightsaber is like...
Yeah? He actually wasn't really a good or bad character. He was kind of in between. You kind of play as him in, what was that, Knights of the Old Republic. And the reason why he wore a mask is because if you made a character, this is a good way to hide who he actually is underneath all that. Because this way you can't tell if he's brown, if he's, you know, if he's pale, if he's tan. You can't tell because he's covered from head to toe, which is really smart. So yeah. Now, one thing with me when I get Black Series figures, because I'm not really a big fan of Star Wars, is I create my own mythology and I make my own characters out of them. Like, his name will be Darth Revan, but what he'll do in our universe will be different from probably what he did in the universe that he came from. He'll probably be a villain in our world. Straight up. Because I like having humanoid villains. Let's talk about Chirrut. So I found Chirrut a while ago because I had also found Baze a while ago. So now I can have these two running around. He could be Chirrut, Chirrut, and he can be all, I am one with the Force and the Force is one with me. I am one with the Force and the Force is one with me. And yeah, I love it. I love it. It's the first Donnie Yen figure I've ever had. So I have a Donnie Yen figure. I've got Bruce Lee. Now if we can only get Van Damme, Stallone, all those other guys. I'm kind of mad that I missed out on the expendable figures from Diamond Select, I think, did them. But I'll look for them eventually and I'll have them. But yeah, that big deal because I'm a huge Donnie Yen fan. Talking about all the way back to Drunken Tai Chi. Those of you who are martial arts movie heads, you would know about that. But he's pretty dope because this is actual soft goods, so he can kick and stuff. But then this part is plastic, which is crazy because when you're looking at it, you can't tell. You know, it's kind of hard to tell. But they did a good job with him. He comes with the staff is collapsible, and then he comes with that weird bowcaster thing that he has. And it's pretty dope. I mean, he's really posable. He can do splits and stuff, more so than some of the Jedi, which is pretty nice. So I don't have any issues with him at all. And I think I paid like, what, 16 or 17 bucks for him? So, yeah, I'm not complaining. I got Baze for like 12. I got him at Big Fun. Were you there with me when I got him?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? It was a while ago. But anyway, so that's two more Black Series figures. It's weird because I went from having none to having a whole bunch of Black Series figures. But, you know, I'm a movie person, so if it's a movie figure and it's done well, then I will get them. Now here, these are two Jedis that I got courtesy of ODC That's Me. I never saw them in my area. I think he got them either online or he saw them and sent them to me. So I like Qui-Gon Jinn. I think he's dope. I mean, you can't complain. I mean, look at him. And the fact that he uses his sword the way a samurai does is awesome. The same thing goes for Mace. I mean, I couldn't not get Mace Windu. Now, one of the things that I wanted to add in here, and I've mentioned this before when we were talking about random, action figures and the way things are going, the Black Series is really giving Figuarts a run for their money. I mean, like, if you're into movie figures, it doesn't really get much better than that. They're on a different level. The sculpts are so damn clean and so, like, detailed. And then the articulation is not that far from Figuarts. I mean, like, he's got butterfly joints in there. See that? He's got butterfly joints. That's crazy. I mean, you can see them if you look in there. I'm going to change where my light is because it's really hard for you guys to see when I don't have extra light. So let's see if we can move that forward a little bit. If that helps. Does that help? Yes, that helps. Do you see that? Butterfly joint. So that allows him to hold the lightsaber better in front of his face. If he wants to use two hands, he can do that. See? And it looks natural. He doesn't look weird. Because that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to get some more light coming in this direction. It might be some warm light. You guys can see everything. But yeah, Hasbro's killing it, man. It's ridiculous. They're doing a great job getting everything to look the way that it needs to look so that it achieves the whole movie look. But Homeboy is super posable, and I love it. I think it's funny because it's like having I have two Sam Jacksons now because I've got the one back here from Captain Marvel, and both of them are kind of young, but it's like with hair, without hair. You know what I mean? I mean, look at these sculpts, man. These faces. They look so good. That actually looks kind of blurry. Let's put him more over here. There we go. Look at that. Skin tones are a little bit different, but, that's better. Lots of Sam Jackson. I am the motherfucking Jedi Master, motherfucker. I dig it. I dig it a lot. I'm surprised that I haven't seen him in the wild out here in my part of town, Usually we see all the Black Series stuff. It like pops up immediately in our area. But I'm not usually looking for anything Black Series, so I see him and then I just continue. Qui-Gon's dope too, but he does not have the kind of articulation that Mace does. So he's a little bit limited in what he can do, but he has like this ridiculous bend at the elbow. So you can get him to kind of hold the sword, the lightsaber, the laser sword, like a samurai as he does, and it looks good. His head and neck, despite having all that hair, he's got a lot of range of motion for his neck, and it looks good. So I was actually fairly impressed with the way they did this, He looks really, really professional. I mean, look at that. Looks real good. So props to them for how they did this. I think this is how I'm going to move them around so you can see all that. So anyway, I love it. Love it. I'm really happy that I was able to get them. Slowly building up my Jedis. I used to have, when I was a kid, between my brother and I, we had all the Jedi. We had the whole Jedi Council, but we had them in the 3 3/4 inch scale. And some of them were from Power of the Force, and some of them were from the episode 1, the prequel collection or whatever. I think that's still Power of the Force. I don't remember. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so forgive me. I know somebody's gonna attack me because I called it something that it may not be called, but that's how it goes. So I think that is it for Star Wars stuff. Let's talk, since we're in space, let's talk Captain Marvel so I can get these out the way, because you've been seeing these in the background for months, and I want to quickly go over them and get this shit out the way. I got the people who counted. You know me, I don't like when they throw comic book figures into the mix because it's like, why? That character has no business being in this whatever. And they always do it. And it frustrates me, so I always ignore them. I almost got this Grey Gargoyle, I think it is, and the 2 other versions of Captain Marvel so that I could finish the Kree Sentry. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, I really don't give a shit about the Kree Sentry, so why am I even going to, play that? So, I didn't bother. So I have Captain Marvel. I'm not going to go over all the details because, I mean, who hasn't really seen what this figure looks like by now? Everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen Goose. The version that came with Nick Fury is the version that has the shackles and stuff on it. So you see the mouth guard and all that. Goose is a Flurkin. He's not actually a cat. But yeah, you all know that if you watch the movie. He's kind of a plot device. So between these 2 figures right here, you end up with 2 unmasked Captain Marvel heads, and they're almost identical. There's not really much to them. And then you also end up with 2 of the closed heads with the masks on. You have the green, the Star Force version. And then you have the standard Captain Marvel version that we all know and some people love and most people don't give a shit about. I think she looks cooler this way because it's reminiscent of, obviously, the comic book look. And I got to give him props that the design, just objectively looking at it as it is, this design is on point with her comic look. It's just like, how do you turn the comic look into armor, And that's how you do it. And that's one of the things I love about Marvel Legends is they do... Actually, let me switch her hands because she has the jazz hands on, and I hate that. I don't know why. I think I had her flying. I was doing a test with this camera that I'm using now. It's a small action cam, and I was making her fly around, and I was using putting the camera near her body so that it looked like her hands, like it's like a GoPro. So it's small enough that I can actually put it in places that I couldn't put my standard camera. So, yeah, I was making her fly around the house, and, of course, something had to fall. At least this time it didn't fall on the rug of remembrance where everything just goes to disappear forever. But, yeah, she was flying. It was kind of like this. I'll recreate so you can see what I was talking about. So, you couldn't see her head, but you could see her hands. I think I did it like this, right? Yeah, this is how I did it. Oops. So you see what I'm talking about? I was doing something like that, and I had the open hands on because it looked like she was flying and enjoying herself. It didn't look so serious. But anyway, let's get back to the thoughts on the figure. I bought the figure well before the movie came out because these popped up at Walmart like maybe 6 months, 2 or 3 months before the movie came out. And yeah, I was like, man, this kind of looks very reminiscent of what, of course, now everybody wants to fall. How about you all just fall down? So we can get that out the way, since I'm on camera while this happens. It looked real reminiscent of the comic book suit. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm going to get her and put her up there with my other folks. I'm not going to adhere to whatever the plot is of the movie because I knew the movie was going to suck. That was like a no-brainer and a half. But look at her. She looks really good. The two of them look really cool together. I mean, not that you should have them together, but I mean, as characters, they look good. It looks legit. And I think that was the point, and that's what a lot of people missed when it came to the look of the figure versus the movie. A lot of people judge the figure based on the movie's nonsense, and I'm like, that's not really enough for you to be, the movie alone is not enough to really judge the character. The character's always been kind of boring. She had her best years back when she was Miss Marvel, wearing the cool Psylocke-esque, like bikini, bathing suit deal. But I don't know. That's not the point of this. The point is, even though she doesn't have that physique, this costume looks pretty cool. It looks like armor. She looks protected. And if you picked up the Star Force version, you get the Minerva parts, but you can also make her into Star Force Captain Marvel as well. But you can see that these two... Let me move this one out the way because I'm not talking about the comics anymore. These two share the same body. Hopefully that doesn't look too weird. But yeah, they did a great job. I like them. I mean, from head to toe, they look really good. So yeah, props to them for that. Minerva is pretty cool because she has the extra parts. She has this cool sniper rifle, this alien sniper rifle, which is pretty nice. I like the satchel because who knows what that is and how that works, what's in there. But it works, and you can tell those big pellet things are the charges that probably go in this rifle. They're probably like batteries or something. She comes with this extra scarf thing that's on her back, well, on her neck. I like that. And then the head itself. I'm going to have to get up close so you can see that. It's actually a decent sculpt, even though she didn't look like that in the movie. And I hate when they do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure, once again, it's concept art, but, I mean, come on. How many times are you going to do that nonsense? Oh, we made the toy before we had actual images of what she was going to look like in the movie. Well, then wait till you have the images of what she's going to look like in the movie. Stop giving us, what's his name? Call Obsidian looking all strange and whatnot. I hate that with a passion, but overall, though, I think they did a good job. She looks good. And it's just another enemy for your heroes to fight, We need bad guys for the movie figures, and having the Star Force to a degree, like I'm surprised they didn't make everybody, but having the majority of the Star Force in action figure form, sorry about all this, it's pretty nice because it allows for us to have variety. Yawn Raagh, I hate this figure. There's something weird about his proportions and these weird feet. Look at them. Look at these boats, man. And then, he has this weird helmeted head with no expression. There's, nothing going on behind the eyes. He looks so, dead. I mean, look at that. No personality at all. The eyes are just too wide. And then they didn't give us, an extra head, like a Jude Law head, so we could see him unmasked, because that's how he was the majority of the film. Also, they didn't give us alternate forearms so that the shields that have the telekinesis or the magnetics or whatever that was, gravitational powers, we don't have them. We also don't have a holster for the gun, and we clearly saw him have a holster in the movie. So it's just weird that they kind of skimped, and you could tell they just were trying to cash in on these because they knew the movie was probably going to be mediocre, so they didn't really put anything into it. But it's strange because they kind of do this with all of the movies. I mean, that's what they did with Endgame. We got a handful of characters in relation to characters that already existed, figures that we got in other lines, when we should have got a whole Endgame line. Luckily, I have one of, if not the most important Endgame figure to talk about. Now, here's Nick Fury. This figure's okay. It's a suited figure, so if you don't have any suited bodied figures, you do now. If you wanted to take the head off of your old Nick Fury figures and put it on this, you could put it on this body and it still works. I don't like how wobbly this figure is. It's not very well engineered. And I know it's not really a movie figure. It's the head that's the movie figure, you know what I mean? That's the part that's movie related. But it's a damn good head, They did a great job with that. Look at that shit. I don't want to be too close. Look at that. Looks just like him. So, it's pretty nice. kind of blah. I got him at the same time that I got Claw, and Claw is a better figure, but they use many of the same parts, which is really strange. And then we have Talos. Ben Mendelssohn under a shit ton of makeup, and he looks really good. It's a cool looking figure. Now I'm doing this lighting the way I'm doing it so that you can see the facets, because where light hits, then you have a shadow real close, and it looks really cool and dramatic, so I hope that's working for you. There's a really cool in his coat. You see that? It's all swirly and stuff. It's pretty nice. They did a good job with that. But he doesn't have fist hands, so you can't make him fight. If you're going to make him fight, he has to do open palm type shit. And I don't know how cool that's going to be. And then there's a cool design on the top of his head. I don't know if you can see that. I might take a picture of that just to allow for you to have, a clearer view of that. But they did a good job with him. He's very plain, and they didn't give you like multiple heads, so you could use those heads as the other members of his team, which is kind of weak sauce, because I mean they gave us all these other unrelated figures, and they could have easily given us a related figure. And his articulation is standard. Nothing is really, super amazing or taking away from any of the other things that he can. He just basic. He's basic as fuck. Most of the figures in this wave, that Captain Marvel wave, they're all real basic. They don't do anything special, I will say that this Captain Marvel, though, is extremely posable with limited, like, she doesn't have all the points that, like, the Figure Arts does, but, I mean, look at that bend. That's dope. Her legs, she has tons of freedom. Her legs, I mean, look at the bend there. She's real easy. She's not too stiff. The tolerances are really nice. So, like, everything that you would want her to do, she can even look up. They gave her the hinge in the neck this time instead of just the ball joint like they typically do with female figures. But, like, if you want her to be flying, you can do all that. You don't have to worry about it. And she can look forward, and she looks good. So, like, you don't have to shell out 60, 80, 90, 100 plus for the Figure Arts if you can get a hold of this. And I guarantee you at some point this one's going to go for that much too, which makes no damn sense whatsoever. But this is the world we live in, unfortunately, and this is what collectors and scalpers tend to do when it comes to a figure that might be sought after, or is past its proposed relevance date. Because figures somehow manage to have a date of expiration date when it comes to relevance. Move you to the back, because I got a lot to say about that. Black Panther. So I picked up a big chunk of the Black Panther wave. Finally finished Okoye. I managed to get T'Chaka, and I managed to get Killmonger in his gear, and I got Claw finally. So Claw is pretty dope. Let me actually put him in here so you can see. Put the good guys on one side and put the bad guys on the other side. Claw is somehow Claw managed to be my favorite of the bunch. I don't know what it is about this figure, but he's just really fun. They did a really good job with him. Of course, Claw had to fall down. But you'll notice little Strident disappeared. He went to go eat something. Kids. Goldfish memory, all that good stuff. But anyway, Claw is dope. If you look closely on his hand, so they did the tats really well. Actually, let me put his hand in the light, and then we will go up close and look at it. You see that? It looks great, right? And then if you look at the fake hand, number one, it's slightly lighter than the regular hand. And if you get up close, you can see seam lines that give away that it's not a real hand, that it is, in fact, a, what is the word? my brain, I hate when this happens. He's got a artificial limb. God, there's a specific word for it that I was looking for, and I totally blanked on it. But you get what I'm saying. You can tell it's an artificial limb. And then they did give us the sonic cannon hand. On top of that, he has interchangeable hands for that arm as well, which is so weird because, you know, I'm used to Hasbro skimping on those kind of things, but they really did the damn thing with this guy. I mean, people say they don't really like the movie figures, and I don't know why. There's tons and tons and tons more detail on these than on the standard figures, and still, somehow the standard figures end up going, the comic book figures end up going for higher prices, which doesn't make sense to me, but here he is with the gun hand, and it looks great. I mean, I was so impressed. I liked him in the movie. He was funny. I mean, and look at that face. Let's get up in the light. Look at that face. So dope. So yeah, finally I got Claw to fight my Black Panthers. And then the figure that I was waiting for the most was T'Chaka. I mean, shit. Look at this guy. Actually, let's put him in a more regal pose instead of that cool fighting stance. See, one thing that I've noticed when I watched a lot of the reviews is that most of the figures are just standing there. Nobody's really posing them, and when they do pose them, they're weird, goofy poses, you know? That's something that I always complained about, that I love about the One Cam. He's my favorite figure photographer of all time. I call him the GOAT, because he makes it look like fun, you know? And he has the characters actually doing things, sometimes as if they're alive, and I dig that. That's what it's all about. But anyway, T'Chaka, man. This is a dope figure. Soldrum82 did a review on him when he first came out, and I was like, yeah, I gotta get him, and I never saw him. And then I think a couple months ago I got him. I got all of these. Well, no. Him, and Claw all at the same time. And I just had been waiting to review them. But I figured, you know, because they're legends, there's not that much to say about them other than they captured the look. And what I really like about him is that parts of this design come from the first suit. And then everything else is different. And you can tell when you have him standing next to T'Challa. So he has a different physique. You could probably use the head that came with the original release of that figure. You could probably use that head on him, and that could be a good version of his dad, like a time, out of time version of his dad, you know, from a different timeline. So yeah, they did an amazing job. There is a dude I get things from, like soft good things from, called CG Slot on eBay, and he has a version of this shawl and skirt piece. So a cloth version of that would probably be amazing, because you could pose him better. Not that this really gets in the way, it just looks like a toy when you do certain things. And you know, the goal with a lot of these smaller figures is for them to look like miniature Hot Toys, or miniature versions of the character from the movie. So yeah, that's what we got with him. But I love this figure. It's just dope. I mean, let's look at this mask up close. Look at that mask. Look at that. No doubt that this is from Africa, you know? Sudan, maybe even Zulu. There's like a little bit of everything in there, you know? I love it. So, they did a great job with that. Man, I've been needing to do this for so long, because, I mean, you see how much crap built up. I shouldn't say crap, but how much stuff built up. It's just, oof. My life has been pretty busy lately. The adulting has been getting out of hand, so I need to jump back in and be a kid for a while. Killmonger. I was waiting for this figure, and it's kind of a meh kind of figure, but he's not bad. The main thing with him is the fact that he has all the details, and I'm surprised that I haven't seen any custom Blade 1 Marvel Legends, like movie Marvel Legends figures, where they use this torso and armor. Because, I mean, look at it. It's very reminiscent of Blade. I mean, look at those two strike faces on his chest. And I'm surprised no one's doing, even the buckles. He's got the 3 buckles. 1, 2, and then the third one underneath. Well, it's not underneath, but it's below it. It's pretty dope. And then his helmet or mask, it's on point. It is on point. The thing that I dig the most, though, is that with a lot of Legends, the problem is when they have a rifle or something like that, their articulation doesn't allow for you to point that rifle, shoulder that rifle correctly. Lately, they've been doing it. Like, he doesn't have the up and down like he should have, which is kind of a missed opportunity on their part, but he does have enough articulation that if you're kind of slick with it or you have an idea of what you're doing, you can get him ready to infiltrate a place in no time. And you're going to have to, if you want that mask to stay on, you're going to have to use some kind of like stick tack or press stick or whatever, or blue tack. In some places that's what it's called. I have some sticky tack, and I use that for everything. Anytime there's a piece that needs to sit on my figures, I use sticky tack. Another cool thing is that his eyes actually line up with the eyes of the mask. And I was impressed with that because I didn't think they would pull that. But let's put the gun, shoulder that rifle, homie. Shoulder it and show them what you can do. I think this is an M4. I could be wrong. It could be a AR-15 because now that's the gun. But yeah, he's shouldering it and it looks right. So props to them. That actually looks fan-freaking-tastic. Un-fucking-believable. I guess it's a good thing that little STRYDENT disappeared because that way I can kind of relax and speak like an adult. But the other gripe I have with this figure, and it's a gripe that I have with a lot of the some of the older movie figures, is that the face has no emotion. There's no personality behind this face. It's just Michael B. Jordan. It's like, look, Michael B. Jordan. Like, can we get some emotion? It's a good-looking figure, though. They did a good job. So, props there. Now let's talk about Okoye. Man, it's been a mission to get that figure put together, and she looks dope. The problem I have is that mine, the head, has several flaws on it, and I'm going to need to get let me back up so you can see it. I'm going to need to get another one. So if anybody has a head laying around and you didn't finish Okoye and you don't want it, please help a ninja out and send me or let me know. And if you want to trade, I have a ton of parts that I could trade, collect and connect and build a figure parts. Hit me up and let me know, and we'll work something out. But let me get up close so you can see what I'm talking about when I say they're flaws. Like, look at over her eyebrow. Do you see that? It's all scratched. And this is how it came. And then the back of her head, like there's all these marks and let me see, how close can I get before? There we go. The back of her head, there's all this flash. See that? From how it was removed from the mold. It's just not, it wasn't done perfectly. But the figure is so dope. I actually need a couple Doras too. So if someone wants to part with some Doras, let me know. Give me a good price and I would definitely be down to take those off your hands. I want to have 4 Doras. I haven't found any at all in the wild. I've never seen them, or maybe I've seen them once. I might even wait till September and go to the toy show and just pick them up there. But if you guys are going to sell them for a reasonable price with their spears, I don't need any of the other stuff. Just give me the heads, the figure, and the spears, or a spear with them, and I will be 100% happy. And I'm not trying to break the bank because they're troops. But I love this figure. I love it. Okoye is a dope character that hasn't been given the outside of the Black Panther the film. she hasn't really gotten a chance to really show what she's capable of. Like, I want choreography with her, you know, like fights. Oh, wow. I never noticed that my... You see this? I'm not actually hitting it. The camera is moving on its own to avoid stuff. Wow. Never mind. I'm being weird. I didn't realize that. I just put my finger in there and I noticed. But, yeah, she's a dope figure. I'm really happy to have her. Finally. I'm kind of angry that she was a Build-A-Figure. It doesn't make sense to me, but, you know, whatever. That's the way they get down. Can't really bitch about that stuff at this point, because it's been like this for a long time. Now, the final Marvel, you know, MCU figure to talk about is Cap. People are calling him Worthy Cap. Captain America is worthy. This, one of the dumbest, he's been worthy. He's Captain America. He's carried Mjolnir billions of times in the comics, so I don't know why we're going to give him that name in the films. But this figure here, my ninjas, everything that was wrong with the previous one is right with this figure. So give me a second and I will show you. It just feels like the same quality that you get from the Black Series, they're starting to utilize that when it comes to Marvel Legends for the MCU. I mean, look at the marks on the shield. And I don't know if this is the same shield from the Civil War 2-pack, but I can tell you that the figure itself is completely new sculpt. Like, all of it is new sculpt. The helmet's a new sculpt. It's not just a reuse of the Civil War. I mean, the Civil War one. You know, the 10 years, first 10 years Civil War figure. It's just not. I mean, like, these shoulder pads here. So the shoulder pads are actual, like, different pieces. They're not just sculpted. So when he puts his arms up, give me just a sec so I can show you. Make this a little taller so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you put his arm up, you see that? The shoulder pad itself goes over the body. You see that? So when I move it, so it's a separate piece, and it's like pliable, kind of soft plastic. Sculpt, man, like they actually tried. The hair comes out of the back of the helmet. Looks pretty good. He's bulkier than the previous one because, I mean, I guess in each movie they get a little bit more muscular, and I want to say that since this is the last MCU film, they had to make him, well, the last of this Cap, they had to make him look the best he could look, you know? So, let's quickly compare with the previous one from Civil War, the first 10 years, and you can already see there's a difference. I was so geeked. I mean, look at him. It's not as good. The pose is not as good. They look like they're two different sizes, but there you go. That's better. And I know it's a little bright, so let's put them over here so they can catch all the light. And you can see they corrected things. Like, one of the issues I had with this version was that the helmet, it sat a little bit off from where his eyes are. You see that? It's like the underside of it is up and it needs to be down. And you look at this one and look where his eyes are. They're in the right place. It looks just like Ultimates, about like Ultimates 2. Also, no scale mail or scale pattern. Scale pattern. See that? It's soft though, but it's there. But this figure, these two figures are the ones that made me realize, for real, that I don't need to buy the figure arts. The figure arts, they have yet to really get the Chris Evans likeness, and I'm not impressed. Their caps are posable, don't get me wrong. And you know me, I'm all about figure arts, but sorry about that. Almost dropped my camera. I'm all about figure arts. You know, for a long time they were the Rolls Royce of action figures for me. But slowly but surely, I'm seeing that they're taking advantage of the idea of Marvel's license just printing money, you know? So they're not really trying. And you're getting these subpar figures for these stupid, ridiculous prices. And I'm just not behind that. If I'm going to pay the extra, I need to see what I'm getting. You know what I'm saying? It needs to look the part. I love the way this figure looks, and I need to find the other Chris Evans unmasked head so that I can put these two things together so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about when I say that there's improvement that has been made, because they really have been going out of their way to improve. They're doing what I had mentioned that wasn't happening before. Before, when you look at Hasbro and you look at other companies, the only time Hasbro would try really hard to go back and, like, you know, redo a figure is if that figure was a Star Wars figure, because they've had so many versions of the same characters over and over and over. And then here, they actually did that with, they started doing that with the MCU figures, because every movie they get new costumes and stuff, you know, so it's another chance for you to redo the head sculpts and all that. Which is nice, because it means they give a damn. I heard people saying things like, which frustrated me, that this new one is the best Chris Evans head they've ever done. It's bullshit. It's another great Chris Evans likeness. He looks older. He looks a little bit meaner, because he's been through more. I mean, look at the old one. Let me actually back them up a little bit so we can get this light. That looks really good, doesn't it? Looks like Chris Evans. Nothing is off about the look. Got that perfect jaw structure. His hair is nice. I mean, he had this haircut in Civil War and Winter Soldier. And then you look at this one. This one just looks a little older. He's got the hair exactly like what his hair looked like in the movie. He just looks tougher. It's a little bit more stern, you know? But the hair is on point. You know, you see that little overlapping bunch of hair. It's pretty cool. They did a really good job. His pants are slightly different from the previous pants. He doesn't have that weird pattern that you see down there. On these, he has a different pattern. And, like, just detail-wise, I mean, when you see them, when you see a Cap figure, or you see a MCU figure standing next to, like, a Figure Arts, which I'll do in just a second, there's, like, a level of detail that now the MCU figures are hitting that they never hit before. And it makes me happy, because it's like, you know, these are movie figures. You should be down to do this. This should be the goal, is to make the best 6-inch figure you can make for $20, you know? And now I'm starting to feel that that's where they're going, more so than before, and we're getting better figures because of it, you know? So I'm pretty impressed with what they're doing. I'm glad that finally the figures are looking the part. I mean, I went on a tirade about how Figure Arts was actually paying attention to the details, and maybe they listened, because there's details on this suit that you don't see on the Toy Biz suits. I mean, the Hasbro suits. But you look at him in comparison, and he looks rather plain compared to both of these other Caps. You know, it's like texture. The texture is missing. And that bothers me. He shouldn't be missing texture. The texture should all be there. And, like, on this new Cap, it's there. Let's get up close so you can see it a little bit better. Texture, my friends. This one's smooth, and, like, his head doesn't look right. It doesn't quite look like Chris Evans. Wow. So there goes that. Let's turn them this way. Give them a little bit more light in their faces. Look up, guys. Sorry about that. I will probably cut that from the... I say that, but I probably won't. But I mean, like, look at that face. And then look at that face. Matter of fact, look at these two faces right here. These two are closer to the same film. And there's such a difference, you know what I mean? Number one, that's too smooth. It doesn't look rough, like it's been hit or anything, you know, or like it's slid against things. Even, I don't know, and then you look at this one and it looks rough, and it looks like it's been through some shit, you know? Same thing here. And that's not me roughening it up. That's just the way it is. So, you know, I think I'm happy with the caps I have. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a Cap fan. I have a lot of Captain America figures. But now I'm really happy to have the, what did they call him? The Age of Heroes inspired movie cap, because I love that design. I still have that. It's one of the few comic book figures that I kept, was the Age of Heroes cap. I love it. So yeah, that figure's dope. And yeah, his Mjolnir, the Mjolnir he comes with is hidden behind the shield in the package. So you don't see it because they have it hidden very well behind the shield. But his articulation is dope. I think he has slightly more range than the previous ones. Yeah. Slightly more range in the legs. You know me, I need a cap that can kick in the head, and that cap can kick in the head. So yeah, gives me exactly what I want. He also is like a little bit bigger in the muscle, like his wings are bigger. He just looks, like I said, a little bit bulkier than the previous ones, and we needed that. So I'm proud of them for this. And the only gripe I have is the way that these shoulder things work is that sometimes they don't go where you need them to go. So you have to try a couple times and then they'll flap over like they're supposed to. But like, look right here. See if I can put him right up close like that. And then we'll put the other one up close so you can see him. You can see how skinny he is. Let's put them side by side. See that? His upper body is out and then it tapers into his waist. Him, he's just straight down. So it's kind of weird. It's nothing huge, you know what I mean? Like, this is not by any means a nitpick that would drive me to tell you not to pick him up. He's worth it. They did a fucking amazing job with these figures, you know? And like I said, the movie figures are where it's at. I mean, there's no way you could look at, you know, a comic book version of these figures and say the comic book version is worth more money based on the amount of detail and sculpt and paint and everything that's on it. It's just, there's no way. I love, you know, I mean, look at this body. It's the body that they refuse to use. But there's no way you're going to tell me that this costs more to make than this. I mean, look at the blue on this alone is that marbleized blue with more detail in it. There's more detail, period. I mean, just let's get up close and you can see all that as you go through the figure. I mean, look at that. Whereas this is just flat. I mean, that body is amazing. I mean, my God, look at that. Well, bam! It's a big old booty. And some hosses. But, you know, at the same time, it doesn't look like it really exists. Whereas this is what that would really have to look like, you know? So that it's functional, not just sexy. I mean, this isn't really sexy. This is just all function. But that's just sexy. So, you know, this is why I'm into the MCU stuff. Seems like they're going more in the direction I would go in when it comes to design. And I like that. Form does follow function after all, and you need that in your figures. So yeah, props to them for that. I jumped out of my comfort zone, and I picked up a Overwatch character. I like the artwork of Overwatch. I've never really liked the game, though. Hero shooters get on my nerves because things that you should just be able to in a game that make it, you know, more, especially when it's combat, they make that into a superpower or a special power for each character, and I think that's stupid. You know, and in some cases they have, like his power is individual. You know, it fits his character and it's very specific for him. But I mean, like, you know, shields. Everyone should be going into the battle with some kind of shield. Everyone should have grenades of some sort. You know what I mean? Like, there's some base level shit everyone should have. It shouldn't just be like one guy does this, and that's what Siege did to Rainbow Six, and that bothers me. I don't like that, and yeah, I will kind of dodge that forever. I will not put my time in, but I love the art. And since they didn't have the full-on villain version of Reaper, I figured I would wait and I would get this version, hero version first, and then down the road when they release him, or when the Figma one, I think the Figma's out already, I'll go and get the Figma one. But this is a pretty dope figure. It's not without its flaws. He does have a decent amount of flaws, which kind of bugged me because they're so simplistic, and I figured if they're doing like Black Series stuff and they're doing you know, the MCU stuff and even Power Rangers and all that, some of these issues shouldn't be there. Like, for instance, the joint tolerances suck. They're like so hard, which is good for posing and keeping the pose held, but it sucks for trying to get them to assume the pose. There are some things on him that I don't like. And I told you, like, some of the joint tolerances are weird. Gaps are weird. I mean, look at that elbow. That is ugly. Ugly. And I only point these things out because, you know, the same company has done these things well. They've done them better on Transformers. They've done them better on Black Series and Marvel Legends. Like, there's no reason for that. And then, like, I was kind of hesitant because of the style of the figures. There's cool things they did, like the diaphragm up here, and then the crunch, kind of like the icons. But then, like, they don't really have an ankle pivot. They can, you know, move their foot forward like that. But, like, the pivot is just you turn their foot because the joint goes down in there. It's not really a pivot. So when you stand them up, this is what you get. And that doesn't look right. You know, you do this, that's what you get. So a lot of times it's hard to make them look, you know, like legit. You know, get them positioned in a way that looks natural. So, you know, I mean, I've been doing this for a little while. So, I mean, I can do it a little bit easier than, you know, some folks you watch online. But it's still a hassle. And it shouldn't be. Also, it came with effect pieces for the guns, and these motherfuckers are so heavy. Like, they didn't do the smart things that you see with import lines, where they use a lighter transparent plastic, or the weapons themselves are made out of a lighter plastic to avoid this exact issue. So it's weird. Like, the presentation of the figure is very much like an import figure. I mean, look at how good that looks. But then, like, the build quality is not. So while I had really good things to say about the Black Series these days, and about wait till I get to the Lightning collection. Whoo, shit. But I had good things to say about that. And Marvel Legends, for the MCU Legends, these are kind of weird, and I have a feeling that the articulation is going to vary from figure to figure. So it all depends on which characters you get and what their body type is, whether or not this articulation scheme is going to work for them. But I mean, he's a dope looking figure. You know, I will not front on that. He is a dope looking figure. The sculpt, the paint is on point. Yeah, he's a good-looking figure. They did a good job with him. So, you know, this is pretty cool. And it's, what, a third of the price or half the price of the Figmas? So, you know, when McCree comes out, I will be happy. I don't know. And when Ash comes out, I'll be really happy. But I'm not really... Oh, and Doomfist. Whew, Doomfist. I have to get a Hasbro version of Doomfist because I'm going to make him punch shit for real. So, yeah, that's a thing. These guys are cool. They're not perfect. A couple of my home ninjas have gotten some of those figures, like Kyle picked up Tracer, and I think he might have Sombra too. And he likes them. You know, my scale and the stick by which I measure them is usually a little bit, you know, it's a little different. Now, the Lightning Collection. Holy shit. When I tell you that Hasbro has literally put a... Hasbro has managed to make a $40 to $60 figure $20. I mean, I don't know. I'm not bullshitting. They've done some magical things with this line. I mean, I don't even understand how they pull these things off. I don't understand. I mean, I just don't understand it, but they did it. They did it. I mean, you get an extra head. You get a gang of extra hands. I think you get, what, fists? You get holding things hands, right? Yeah, you get a fist. You get holding things hands. You have one fist, one holding things hand. And you get the extra head, because for those of you who don't know, the Shadow Ranger is Doggy Kruger. Shadow Ranger comes from SPD. That was one of my favorite characters. Or I think they were called, what were they called? Deca Ranger? Something like that? I can't remember what they were called. The Japanese version. I didn't like the Japanese version as much. I felt like the team just looked weak. And the main character, Bon, was just, he was lame to me. They eventually got better, because I did come back and watch them. And there was like a team up at some point, and they got better. And their version of Doggy Kruger looked like shit compared to this one. I mean, this one looks like a space Doberman. And I like that. But they did everything you're supposed to do to make these figures work. There's even an additional neck piece, so that when you take the helmeted head off, because you see that this is drastically smaller than this head with the snout and all that. So when you take this off, you need a covering so that the neck looks like, you know, flesh. And you can put that on, and you achieve that. So they really are doing their thing. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean when I said these guys impressed me to the fullest. So, you can switch out the hand so that he can hold his saber, the Shadow Saber. And he only holds it with one hand, even though in the show he held it with two. So I guess, you know, depending on how much of a stickler you are for that kind of stuff, that will kind of determine how much fun you're going to have with it. I'm a stickler, but at the same time I like to play with these figures, so it's not going to bother me. But he's got, let me back up a little bit so you can see. There's butterfly joints, both arms obviously. The neck has like a ton of rotation ability. The torso, you've got the same thing you had with the Overwatch figures, where you've got the diaphragm joint, and then below that you have the ab crunch right here. And it really works. I mean, look at that. So you have double jointed elbows that don't stick out like the Overwatch figures. This is why I said that. They're a little on the gummy side, but I mean, they work. I mean, look at that. That's a bend. So if I need him to hold on to his sheath, he can hold on to the sheath and then cut, and it's a deep, far cut, you know? I mean, look at that. So you have him with his legs bent, the one leg bent, one leg out, and he has the proper twist and pivot. So you could do it, actually you could do it this way. So that's typically how it goes. Back leg is flat, front leg is extended, but you use the pivot, turn his waist, and then I can have Zed kind of backing up from the power of this hit. Like, ooh. But wait till you see how all this works. I mean, I was so impressed with their articulation and the amount of detail. And you know, I'm kind of I'm a Super Sentai fan from back in the day. I'm not really a fan of the new stuff, you know, whatever they're called now. What are they called? Lupine Ranger and Pato Ranger or something like that. I'm not a fan of all that shit. I don't. It's too goofy for me and too flamboyant for me. It's like the function and the form have been lost. But when I look at this, I'm just like, man, this is where it's at. I mean, these figures, Lord Zed, they've never done Lord Zed right in figure form. And here you have a figure all muscle that's been dying for this kind of treatment, and it took this long for someone to come along and say, hey, let's just sculpt the hell out of these characters and give them a ton of articulation. I mean, look at that. Wow, apparently Kruger is that powerful. He downed Lord Zed in one hit. Look at that. It's like a scene from the damn show. It's so good. Even Zed being bigger, he's on the larger side. And, I mean, I think the only thing I have a gripe about is the length of the staff. And I don't know why a lot of companies have problems with that. The length of the staff is too short for a figure that big. You know, he's tall, he's muscular, but his staff should be a little bit longer. But look at the torso, like, that's pretty cool. You have all that in there. They got that off, you know? He feels legit. He feels like super large and crazy, and it works. You look at that. The sculpt, the wires. I mean, this feels like a figure that should cost $30, $40, and it doesn't, because it's traditional ABS and a lot of paint. I shouldn't say a lot, but good paint. Well, economically used paint. And they didn't cheap out and say, oh, we're only going to color the front and we're not going to do the back. And, you know, where they could, like with his flesh and his brain being about the same color, they left that. But like silver and red, that's his colors. And there's like a light wash going on the silver and on the red. I mean, if you look in some spots like there on the shoulder, it's a little bit more intense. But I mean, we got a bad guy that looks awesome. And then Kruger, I mean, just look at that. Look at that prismatic metal, that blue metallic paint. It's so dope. And the silver. And then the parts where there's like more detail, like the SPD symbol on his shoulder, they didn't paint that. But you get the point. Actually, on both shoulders. They didn't paint it, but you get the point. So they cut corners where they could, but the detailing that's there, like what's on his forehead, on his belt, it all works. The SPD right here on his shoulder, it looks good. Couldn't believe it, but like I gotta show you more of his posability, because you've got to understand what I'm saying when I tell you that this guy is so posable it doesn't make any damn sense. And it's now there's no excuse for other companies to you know, short us when it comes to articulation. I mean, like, I can do just about whatever I want pose wise with this dude, just about. I mean, it's not perfect because, like I said, he doesn't have two holding things hands. But you can kind of simulate that. An overhead strike, look at that. No problem. You want him to jump and pull his limbs in together to avoid getting hit and then deliver the strike? You can do that. Well, let's pretend he already did the strike. So he's already cut whatever it is he's trying to cut. He jumped over. And he's cutting them. Look at that. You want him to be crouched down and actually keep his legs flat on his foot flat on the ground and touch the ground as he, you know, gets ready to attack with his sword behind his back, like Jet Li would do, like in My Father Was a Hero. He did that a lot with the tonfas and stuff. Go check that movie out. Some dope fights. You can do that. I mean, look at that. When was the last time we could do that? Legends don't do this. Marvel Legends do not do this. You want him to kick backwards while touching the floor. You know, like a capoeira kick. You know, just like put the sword beside you, touch the ground, throw that kick. He can do it. So something like this. Touching the ground, kicking homeboy in the face. And you know, it's like a capoeira move, so he would kind of swing around, swing the foot around like, knock him out like, ugh. And turn around and stand back up with the sword like, ugh. Something that can be done. I mean, like, I was having so much fun posing this dude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me with the amount of posability, you know? The only thing one of the only things that's missing is the joint in the hand. He doesn't have the up and down. He only has the in and out, which sucks. He should have had the up and down so that he can point the sword. I mean, this hand is at an angle slightly, so you do get some movement there, but you know what I mean? They could have done better. But anyway, this figure is superb. Superb. I think that if they continue, and I noticed a lot of people only reviewed Tommy, the White Ranger. I mean, like, come on. I have 2 of him already, and he's been released about 4 times. So, like, come on. I've got the 90s movie version with the cool armored suit. I've got the Figure Arts version that's more... it was the Die Ranger version, but they released him as the Mighty Morphin instead. And then there's the Mighty Morphin version that... it really shows that, you know, Hasbro doesn't give a fuck. I mean, Bandai doesn't give a fuck, and they're just cashing in. The one they did with the unmasked head that doesn't look like fucking Jason David Frank. Like, that's shameful, and it proves that with whatever tech they're using, when it comes to the American market, they don't give a fuck because they know you guys don't give a fuck. So they're going to just take advantage. But, I mean, look at this guy. And the detail is just nice. And, I mean, Super Sentai is kind of minimal when it comes to detail anyway. So it's not really giving you... They're not really going out of their way to get the details, like, all crazy and stuff. They're just giving you kind of a basic level of detail. And it works. It works so well. Let me show you him with his alternate head, with the neck piece on and all that good stuff, so you can see what I'm talking about when I say that this dude looks the part, and it works so well. I mean, look at that. Look at how good he looks, man. Look at his neck. He looks like an alien ranger, like he's supposed to look like, you know what I mean? Which is dope. The dreadlock things in the back of his head, I mean, look at that. God, they did the damn thing. If you don't even like Power Rangers or you don't know anything about them, this is still a superb figure. I have no issues with him. And one of the things I like the best is that their joints are just tolerant enough, they're just tight enough that, like, you can move them, pose them how you want to pose them, and it's not very much, like, effort. You don't have to really try. You don't have to, like, press pieces down and stuff. Like, a lot of times you watch reviews where someone's posing a figure and they have to go through all this clicking and popping and forcing the joints to do stuff, and in this case you don't have to do that. Accessory wise, they come with cool stuff. I mean, Zed even comes with the grenade to make the monster grow. It's not stuck in the hand, but this is the hand that probably uses that, so I have it just in that hand. But yeah, I am thoroughly impressed with this line. You know, thoroughly. I might even just get as many of the reds as I can get because of how impressed I am with this line. But I mean, they really did a great job. I'm the most impressed with them of just about anything that I've collected over the last this year, because, you know, it's Hasbro stepping their game up, and, you know, I've been really hard on them, and finally we're seeing proof that they can do better, you know, and they're actually going there. They're doing better. They're making it work. They're you know, changing up the status quo, and I love that. That's what this is all about. The only way we're going to get better is if you keep on trying to improve, you know, keep on trying to, you know, do a little bit more than what you've done in the past. And they're doing it. So, God, I'm so happy with this. Super happy with this, you know. Another thing is I'm not going to get Tommy, because even though he's a grown-ass man now, too old to be in the Ranger program, he should have aged out forever ago. The figures of him when he was the White Ranger, he was a kid. Now, if you're going to make him an adult, now you need to update the suit, and it should be the suit from the Superpowered Beatdown where they had the cool details to it. And if you're not going to do that, then, you know, I don't want it. I want the accuracy to be there, you know. If he's going to be an adult, make him an adult. If he's going to be a teenager, then he should have a teenage body. This body is clearly a grown man, like a suit actor, like the Japanese suit actors. Some of the American suit actors have that build, you know, the more powerful, like kickboxer / you know, wrestler build, sort of. Or I should say, the aesthetic martial arts build, you know, like Van Damme. You weightlift, you know, or Michael Jai White. You weightlift like a motherfucker, but you maintain your flexibility. That should be for the adults, not for the kids. So yeah, that's these guys. Dope, dope, dope. I highly recommend them. I can't wait to see what the female figures look like, because that's an area that people struggle with, or companies tend to struggle with. Transformers. Let's real quickly before I jump into the NECA stuff. This is still Hasbro. I picked up a ton of Siege stuff. So I got Prime. I got Ironhide. I got Hound, Sideswipe, Ultra Magnus, Six Gun, Megatron. And I have a couple others that I'm holding off on because I didn't need certain characters that are being offered. Like, my favorite Soundwave is the one from Prime, so I didn't bother getting the one from Prime. I have the one from Prime, so I didn't bother getting the new one. So yeah, you're going to be seeing reviews of them, because I got to talk about them. There's some cool stuff to talk about. Got this bad boy this past weekend. I actually owe that to Little Strident. We were at Big Fun. We walked past the Transformers case, and he was like, "Dad, look." I wasn't looking for that. I was actually looking at Alien stuff and Predator stuff. Lo and behold, there was Bumblebee's Prime, and I was like, I gotta get it. You know, I told you guys I was gonna get him. $22 shipped. This figure is amazing. It solidifies why I hate the Bayverse so much. I mean, all you need to see, and I already did it in a video. That's all you need to see. Everything that's wrong with the Bayverse is sitting right here. You couldn't translate that to this, and you suck at your job. You know what I mean? Or the person who told them not to translate this to that, to the movie, they suck at their job. Because the artists, we can do whatever you ask us to do. It all depends on what you ask us to do. But everything's here. The details are here. I even have the instructions, which made me really happy. Look at that beautiful gun. Oh my god. And the face. I mean, come on. The face, homie. It's like, it makes me so happy. That's all there is to it. And then I got this bad boy back here. This is, what was he called? Striker Manus. This is the Cross Dimension line. This is the second release. That's why he has the gray gun. Mine came with all the extra weapons. And it's dope. I know some people were like, it's a bootleg. If it's a bootleg, this is the most elaborate bootleg I have ever seen. And it's so well done. I mean, look at that chest. And then the head is beautiful. And the gun, I mean, everything about him, it just screams like, this should be what he looked like on Cybertron, or this is what he looked like after being rebuilt, and maybe this is what he started out looking like. So in our universe, that's what we're going to do. He started out looking like a tall dude, like a tall drink of water. Then he got murked by Megatron or hurt by Megatron, and then they thought he died, and they rebuilt him, and he became this guy, and he has all these weapons, and he's... So, like, these stacks are axes. They're energy axes. I mean, what? Come on, man. Like, they... Shit. Just, you wait till I get the opportunity to review this guy. You wait. And I'm going to get to Megatron soon. I actually have him in my... he's waiting in the wings, and he will be here at some point. So, yeah. Transformers. Whew. So dope. So dope.
Okay, so next we have the SH Figuarts Go Busters. I think that's a red buster with yellow and blue buster, but those are actually the Hasbro Beast Morphers figures. If I didn't tell you, without you getting up real close, you can barely tell. Hasbro is doing a phenomenal job with these Super Sentai / Power Rangers releases, man. They're really giving Bandai a run for their money, and I never thought they would. I mean, look, when you get up close, that's when you can see the details are missing, like on the straps. The emblem is not painted, and then on the I want to say on the morpher itself. But I mean, other than that, from head to toe, they look legit. I mean, unless you know what you're looking for as far as like joints and such, you really won't be able to tell. And then if they're on your shelf, I mean, you can see that things are a little bit oversized on the American releases. But I mean, you know, having the team on your shelf, you really can't tell. I mean, a morpher is where the morpher's supposed to be. The belts, the straps, everything's where it's supposed to be. So if you're trying to finish that portion of your team, you might want to look into this. They're $10 a piece. You can't beat that. And we still got to wait for the Lightning Collection versions. This is a really, really, really good alternative.
All right, let's talk Neca. And then I will eventually move from my Neca stuff over here to the Figuart stuff over here. So, Neca. A bunch of things have dropped from Neca. You guys know I'm kind of not feeling them right now because of prices and because of gimmicks. Like this set right here. I saw them in the store twice. One time I was leaving. This is what always happens. I was leaving and I was like, let me go past that area. And then I saw these guys. Everyone was there. But I saw these guys, and at the time I wasn't planning on getting everybody. I was still on the fence, and I wanted to see how I felt about these guys. So I got these two because I don't have a stand-up old-school shredder, but I do have Leonardo's. You know, I have lots of Leonardos, so I always got to get him first. So I got this group. They're okay. I like them. $50 a pop is ridiculous. They should have been about 40, maybe 35. You know, I don't think they're worth maybe 30. I don't think they're worth, you know, the $25 a piece. No. Other than the IP and the design, no. There's no way that this should cost more than this. You know what I mean? Like per figure, you get so much more here. I don't understand how this was $22.99 and this guy would be $25. You know, Shredder would be $25. Like, it's not even comparable. The amount of detail, the paints, the sculpts, it's just not comparable. I don't get it, other than the fact that it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And you know, whatever. We all want these characters, and I get it, but you know, I think Neca is taking us for a ride when it comes to Ninja Turtles, because we literally just less than 6 months ago had the release of the movie Turtles, and then now they released those a couple months ago, and they're already like gone. You didn't even make enough of them that like everybody could get an opportunity to get them, and then they're going for stupid prices on the secondary market, which I know Randy Falk and company knew that they would, and maybe to them that's the mark of a quality line. You know what I mean? But I feel like they kind of got over on us with that, because it's like we requested something, bugged them and bugged them and bugged them. They made it, and then it once released to the masses, you know, it went the way of the dodo real quick. And I don't think that the excitement and the price match the actual figure. Now, you get a decent amount of hands. You get a couple hands with each of them. You get Shredder comes with a sword, extra hands, and a communicator, which is pretty cool. Leonardo comes with some extra hands and a communicator as well, which is pretty cool too. But that's it. And he's kind of posable, but he's nowhere near as posable as, like, you know, a Figure Arts. So, like, the Figure Arts versions of this are more posable than that. The movie Turtles are a little bit more posable than these guys, just a little bit. They don't have, like, ball joints for feet. I'm pretty sure this is a ball joint. Yeah, it's a ball joint in there. See that? So yeah, it's kind of weird, you know what I mean? These are cheaper figures from a build standpoint. They're more expensive. But anyway, I love those first 5-6 episodes, the pilot episodes of Ninja Turtles. So I needed a representation of that on my shelf. Now I kind of do because I have the original Turtles, but at the same time I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for these. Now if I ever see bootlegs of the rest of them, I might get them. Because I don't have any foot soldiers, which I would love to have, like the classic ones. But as it stands, I plan on getting the Figure Arts versions of the rest of the Turtles to hang out with that guy. I feel like you get more for your money. If I'm going to pay $50, I want the Figure Arts approach to articulation, and this Neca approach is just it's not enough, in my opinion. But, you know, I'm a Ninja Turtle fan, which is why I have this guy and why I have the Shredder. Shredder's dope. The cloth cape is perfect. It all fits the way it's supposed to. He's very posable. I dig his look, because it's been so long since we've seen. I don't think they've ever released one. I mean, there was supposed to be a Figure Arts one coming that never came, and if it did come, I missed it. But you know, he's a really well done figure. He also doesn't have you know, the proper swivels in his feet, so he's got ball joints for feet, which kind of sucks because you don't get you see what I'm saying? You don't get that flat stance on both feet. You have to really screw with it to get it to kind of feel the way that I would like it to feel, like it's flat. But you can get some good poses out of them. I mean, it is Neca, and the basic articulation that they give them is pretty damn good. So I'm happy with those guys. They're pretty nice. Let's move on to the alien stuff. Now, I did not just get that Ripley. I've actually had her for a long time, but she's significant because this is the Kenner throwback Ripley, and this is the Kenner throwback Apone. If you guys remember, and you've been collecting Neca alien stuff, you know that they released Apone from the movie Aliens years ago with all the other Marines. Same thing goes for Ripley, and I have like just about every other version of Ripley except for a handful, maybe 2 or 3. I don't have the Alien 3 version because I don't like Alien 3, and I don't have the Resurrection version because I didn't like Resurrection. I just have a bunch of, I have Alien, I have the version from Aliens, which is pretty much this exact look, except, you know, blue pants, white shirt, and all that. And she doesn't have the smart gun. Instead, she has like a regular machine gun. And then I have this one. I figure those are the ones to get. If you're a fan of Ripley, every other one doesn't matter. But Apone, this is the Apone that represents a good chunk of my childhood, because my brother and I, that's how we played with Aliens. We had these figures, and it was pretty fun, you know. It was literally like we we got to create crazy action sequences, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun. playing with this guy. He comes with his mega grenades. The original toy flung these, so it's nice to see that they kept these in there. He only comes with this weird modern shotgun, which doesn't make sense. I'm like, why that and not something like the comic book accurate machine gun that Machiko came with? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense that he comes with a shotgun from a time period so long before when these movies took place, or when the toy line took place. They could have even made him come with a futuristic rifle along the lines of the Star Wars rifles, you know? So, I don't know. They've kind of dropped the ball there, but design-wise, he's pretty nice. There's even working pistons in here on his robot or cybernetic, I don't know, cast. And I love it. I'm like, man, this is dope. There's a ball joint up here in the shoulder pad so that you can actually move his arm around and stuff. They really went nuts with this, you know. The mega grenades store on peg holes in the back of his armor, which I'll show you right now if you can see. Hole there, hole up there, and you can just put the peg, see the pegs on either side, and you can just put those in there like so, and there you go. So I was really happy about him. He's pretty much the one I was waiting for the most. I saw recently that Drake is on the way, so I need Drake so I can finish them off. I've got Vasky, the movie Vasky, but I feel like movie design Vasky looks better than the toy. The toy had weird colors, and I had the second release, which was the one wearing green. We just actually got the same one I had, the vintage one, with the green that comes with the Panther Alien for my younger son. He's big into these figures too. He likes them, and I figured I will continue getting those for him so that he can kind of relive the kind of action that I did when I was a kid with his aliens. So we got a queen, we got the Panther Alien, and we got like a warrior alien and something else. I can't remember the other one. But yeah, my Big Fun has all of them, so we're going to be back getting every single one of them. Now we can talk about the actual Xenomorphs that I got. So this is the Chrysalis Xenomorph. He's pretty cool. He's the first boss from Aliens vs. Predator, the arcade game, which when I saw this, I was like, I have to do this. I have to do it. I have another one, but I haven't taken him out of the box, so I'm not even going to bother with him. But you'll see him. I'll probably do a review sometime, maybe next weekend or something like that. But this guy is cool because, let me show you, man. He has a surprise. See, that head pops out from underneath the armor, and then his jaw opens. And reveals a second mouth, much like the Queen Alien, so you will really get jacked up fighting this thing if you're not paying attention. I mean, I don't think I've ever lost to him. Every time I saw him, I got up to him, first stage, we just pummel him. Everybody pummels him and make sure we all take turns getting our hits in and stuff, but there you go. So you can kind of see what he's about. See that? Pretty gruesome, right? Damn it. Sorry about that. Trying to get my camera in the right position and it's trying to be all stiff and weird. There we go. Look at all that. So, it's pretty cool. I mean, look at the armor on top. That's a lot of sculpted detail, you know, especially for a video game figure. So, yeah, he's dope. So you can have him coming at, you know, Ripley or somebody. Have her at the edge of the screen like so. Oh my god. You know what I mean? You remember that? I think she was like that close, and then there's like no light. Let's move over here so we can do it better. Okay, there we go. She's like, oh my god. And then this thing is here and it's like, she's like, you know, you remember that. It was in the trailers for Alien 3. I think that's dope. It's dope. There's a lot of things you can do there. It's fun, you know. There's a lot of articulation on that bad boy, so it makes me happy because you can actually do stuff. It's not just a stick in the mud. Then there's this guy. I think it's called the Warrior Alien? It's the Ultimate Warrior Alien, I think is what it's called. Let me look at the box. This is the one from Aliens. This is the... I guess it's the Warrior. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But anyway, pick this one up. I got him open box from Target, complete with the gross butthole egg thing with the face hugger. Blech. These things are so fucking gross. This guy's pretty cool. Lots of detail, of course. More or less, this figure is the same one. This is actually what I should have used to come off the side of the screen and come at Ripley all weird, you know? But, this is more or less what the Scorpion alien, or not Scorpion, what's he called? Arachnid alien is in Alien vs. Predator, the game. Except they're colored more bluish and they're a little bit skinnier. But he has a bendy tail, so does the Arachnid alien. And yeah, he has the second mouth in there too. I just don't feel like pulling that thing out, but you can see it in there. It's pretty cool. It's got joints in the fingers. They're not individual joints. It's one joint and both fingers move together. Neck joint is weird, but like it's hindered by what's going on back there because it's a weird shape. But he's always hunched over anyway, so you really shouldn't care about that sort of thing. He's got those crazy looking pipes sticking out of his back. I don't know, it's a gross design. I mean, like you really get how gross it is once you have the figure in hand, you know? But, you know, it's more for me to have the Space Marines, you know, Ripley and all of them fight them. Because, you know, like I said back in the day, I did not have all this. So having it now, it's kind of like a dream come true because I can actually make it do what it do. Actually make it do what it's supposed to do, you know, which is nice for a change because, like I said, I didn't have that when I was a kid. I had my brother was the one that had all the alien stuff, you know, so Ripley can come in and fight. So anyway, there's that. Now we're going to move on to figure arts. So, like I told you before, a lot of these guys are going to get reviews of their own. Just right now, I wanted to kind of preview these things and let you guys see what's coming so you have an idea. And if I don't get to them, at least I got to talk about them on camera so you won't be like completely left in the dark. So this is the Figure Arts Ultraman Zero. Now what's worthy of note with him is that I got this one a long time ago, and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited, and his price was just nuts. I mean, for some reason his popularity shot up so much that like the Ultra Act version, which is this, goes for over $100 sometimes. Sometimes it's $80, sometimes it's $90, but most of the time it's over $90. And I was like, why? I don't understand what it is that is driving people to want to pay those prices other than he's popular, you know, because his movies that he's been in are pretty dope. The action is dope. The martial arts are really dope. The effects are pretty good. And he's like so strong and so good at fighting that like you get some comically OP'd scenes, you know what I mean? Where he does, like, Street Fighter moves. Like, there's one where he does Zangief spinning pile driver on somebody. Well, he does, like, a modified jumping, super jump pile driver on somebody. You know, throws him up in the air, the guy spins going up into the air, and then he catches him and then comes down and splits a freaking asteroid with it. And they're fighting on an asteroid. So, yeah, he's pretty damn powerful. But, like, Figuarts is known for really good articulation, right? So, let me show you so you see why I was unhappy. That is as far as he can go to do a split. His lateral split. There's no reason for that. That is ripping people off, friends. And this coming from Figuarts, that's a no. That's a huge no. I'm gonna move back so you can see all that. So that's a huge no. That's not cool. I mean, the regular Ultraman, just standard Ultraman, their first release, and I'm gonna bring him out. He's one of their first releases. He could do a split. Ugh. And Ultraman doesn't fight like that, so he doesn't even need to. But somehow Zero, who does like Kung Fu and stuff, can't. I mean, look at this. Look at that. So if he can do this, why can't he? And this is a newer figure, so he's competing with Figuarts and stuff, other Figuarts. But that was Ultra Act. And that pissed me off. I was like, are you serious? Then, not to mention, his arms pop off real easily because this armor on here bumps into this. So when you're moving him and you do stuff and you try to get his arm up there to make use of the butterfly joint, eventually it just falls off. And you're like, really? That doesn't make sense. And this is like what happened with Akiba Red, except this is how he's made. The more you turn this, you can see there's hardly any lip there to catch on the hole inside of this to make it stay. And then the fact that it's so thick, this is so thick up in here that it bumps up against the armor. Like right now, I've moved it so much and done stuff, and it has a hinge. You can see it move a little, but it doesn't get out of the way enough. So you really have to work it to make it work so he can get his arms up. So if you want him to do some of his positions from, like, poses from the movies and stuff, it's hard because parts just come off. You want him to kick high, so the lateral is not that good. The scissors are okay. But overall, this figure is kind of a piece of shit. Oh, look at this. So his head is not on a ball joint. See, this is what I'm talking about. Barely moved, and just psh, the arm came off. But anyway, so his head is not, the neck is on a ball joint. But the head is on a up and down joint. Because the gimmick is the way you switch his faces is you just pull the head off. I put stick tack in there to hold it on, but there's like a pet, you see that? And you just push that in that slot. This slot only can move up and down. Anything else, it just can't do. So my goal was to keep it, keep this on with some stick tack and just work with it as is. It looks nice when he's flying and all, and you have to make sure that in the back, you never turn the head too far, because if you do, it'll come off. I mean, this is just a poorly engineered figure. This is an example of them cashing in, and this is a Japanese figure, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of the figures that is aimed at the Japanese audience more so than the US audience. So it was kind of frustrating that, like, to get him in his stand, like, he can't even turn his head to the side all the way. And then, like, I saw reviews. I watched reviews online before I bought him, and I found him on Mandarake or Mandarake, and the reviews all made him sound like it was a good figure. But I mean, as you can see, it's a lot of work to get him to do very basic things. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna sell that, and I'm gonna wait, because I had read that Figuarts was just taking over. They got rid of the Ultra Act line altogether, and it became the Figuarts Ultraman line. So with that in mind, I was like, I'm gonna get Zero when he releases, because, you know, I want a good Zero. Then he came out. I waited. He came out. It's one of the few figures I pre-ordered because I know he will sell out. Remember what I said. the only time you should ever be pre-ordering a figure is when you know it's like a limited release, and this guy limited. So is Belial, his arch nemesis, which I'll have a picture pop up while I'm talking about that, so you can see what he looks like. And he's on the way too. I bought both of them at the same time, but I had to wait for Belial to be released. So anyway, this guy comes out, and he's everything I was hoping for. And I'm going to give you guys a full review of him. But he can do the splits, because he's got the new school figure arts joints. No problem. No problem. I can do the splits. No problem. Look at that. No problem splits. He can kick in front of him pretty high. Ooh. Doing too much. Would have been a shame if he had popped and broke right there on screen. But like, he can kick straight up pretty well. Get his hands out the way. The arm doesn't pop off because it's the old school where it's the anatomically correct swivel. So it swivels in there on the ball joint. The shoulders are universal with the butterfly joint on the inside. So like this stays up. This armor up here stays up, and then when you move it, you can pull the armor down to cover up the gap. See that? Not to mention he comes with so much stuff. His head finally has all the movement that we're used to of a figure arts. So he can look to the side with no problem. You look to the side, look up. He doesn't exactly look up the same amount as that one does, but he looks up. Then his torso does some work for you. I mean, he's pretty damn dope. See that? So if you want to have him flying, you can do that with no problem. Looks good. I was impressed. And I think you guys will be too when you see what he's capable of. So I'm going to do a full-on review of him so you guys can see just what he's made of and see how good of a fighter, he is. I mean, it's figure arts, it's just weird. I ended up getting him before I got the classic Ultraman that I showed you in that one video when I was talking about Ultraman figures. So I'm probably going to go back eventually and pick up the classic Ultraman so you can see how he stacks up against the Ultra Act Ultraman. It's a great figure. I still have Zafi to review, and they've done a figure arts Zafi also. So, yeah, I don't know. It's not really much to review because he's pretty much this figure with some slightly different tooling. So, it's not much to talk about. But yeah, Zero, very proud of Zero. This version, he is a contender for one of the best figures for the year, next to Blade. Who else should we talk about? Let's talk a little bit about Skull, because Skull actually is a milestone figure for me because he represents a couple things. And the review, it's been taking a while because there's two pieces to it, and this dude has a lot to do with it. And it's pretty obvious what it is. But that's for you, Jossie. I'm going to do that review, I promise. And for another friend of mine, too, who YouTube kind of claimed, is a casualty of the adpocalypse and all that bullshit. My friend Flo from Brazil, we were going to do a joint review of this dude. I mentioned it in another video, but I figure, I may as well talk about it again. We were going to do a joint review of this bad boy, and he just got fed up with YouTube, and he eventually just quit because YouTube has been claiming monetization on his videos. He would use like the Kamen Rider theme and things like that, and eventually they just took his videos. They just claimed them, and it was like, this is bullshit. I mean, you can clearly tell that he's not claiming that he made the music. You know what I mean? He does put the name of the music on the video, so I mean, apparently it doesn't matter what you do. If YouTube wants your shit, they're going to take it, and it's pretty much what they do. So, I'll pour one out to you. I've already poured one out for you, man, and this review will be dedicated to you. But this is the SS version of Skull. You've already seen me do the standard Skull Crystal version. The Crystal version refers to the unfinished version of the memory that he uses, the Gaia memory. There was like a prototype version, so like he wasn't completely formed yet, so his skull, the helmet, was like transparent. So anyway, that's included in the pack with this figure. And, excuse me, skull drive. The Gaia memory, you can actually remove the little, it's like a little drive. If you look closely, you see it? You can actually pull that out. I'm not going to do it on this because it's going to probably fly off and disappear, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my video looking for him, and I don't want to do that. But I will show you it when I do the review. This is an amazing figure. Amazing figure. They even went and replaced the scarf or ascot and added a joint so that you can actually have one ascot with two different attachments for the end and have it blow in the wind if you want, to get dramatic looks when he's on a bike or something like that, or after he's defeated an enemy. I mean, they really, man, you got two hats. You got one with this cut, because there's a cut on the mask, and then there's the one that's clean. I mean, he's just dope. He's just dope. And then all that style with the nice fedora and whatnot. I mean, it's like at first you think edgelord because he's a skull, or he's got a skull motif. Then you see the fedora, and it's like, man, it's just cool. He's not trying to be an edgelord, you know what I'm saying? But I dig it. I'm glad I have it, and I'm going to be reviewing it for you guys. And I'll be reviewing it for my homeboy, Flo. That one's for you, homie. No need for you to count up your sins, but we will definitely do this in memory of you, sir. And then, strangely enough, lastly, we have this bootleg Ultraman from the manga and recently the Netflix series. This is a really cool figure, and not very much about him as a bootleg, but you can tell by like the lightness of the plastic, and you can tell by like his feet are a little on the wobbly side, and then a couple of his hands don't have the holes drilled in, so you have to actually do that yourself. But for 20-something bucks, considering this guy goes for so much, I was impressed. I mean, like, there's not very much about him that screams bootleg. He's actually a really well-done figure, and I'm glad I was able to get him for such a good price. I mean, he is amongst some of my favorites. I mean, I still am kind of like, why did you have to go and armor up Ultraman? You know, part of the appeal is that we don't know what Ultraman really, like, what's his skin like? Does he have skin? Is the suit the skin? Considering that they're made of light, like, what's the deal with that? But they went and they made him armored. But, you know, the story is actually pretty cool. You guys should check out the Netflix film. It's pretty, or series, I'm sorry. It's pretty dope. It's pretty hardcore, actually. But the choreography and the fights are awesome. And it's not a slow burn. They jump right into it. And Papa Ultraman gets some awesome attacks off, and he has a nice little introduction and a nice, like, final battle before everything is given to his son. But this is a cool figure. I was impressed with him. And yeah, I think that will do it. I know I had been talking about doing all these vids and reviews and blah blah blah, and you've been seeing these guys in the background for a very long time, and I figured, you know what, rather than just talk about all this shit, I will kind of give you an update as to what's going on with these guys. I still have a bunch of other figures that I've been planning on reviewing that I just, for some reason, have yet to review. One of them is this bad boy right here. Actually, let's put him like that. Mr. Terry Bogard. This is the D-Arts Terry Bogard. I actually got him loose, and he didn't have all his stuff with him. Like, he didn't have his, whatchamacallit effect, his, he didn't have his, what is that thing called? The energy effects. He didn't have any of those. So I kind of was like, should I even bother since he's not really complete and he doesn't have all the cool stuff that he comes with? I might. I don't know. We'll see. It depends, I guess, on what the reception is from all this that I've shown you. I know that Cobra conversion, what is this, 4 is upon us, and I have some things to talk about. I actually have a couple Joe reviews. I know people talk a lot about how much they hate some of the Rise of Cobra figures, but I had a feeling that I might have to talk about Altitude. I don't know why he just did that. This is why I collect the newer figures. They don't do stupid shit like that. But anyway, Altitude / Ripcord, Rise of Cobra, Ripcord, right? Rise of Cobra, other Rise of Cobra, Ripcord, and just talk about little bits and pieces about what makes them unique, why I like the ones I like, and for what reason, and the usual stuff, how they fit in my Joe-verse and all that good stuff. But I do have a nice little treat for Cobra Convergence 4. If I can get to it, I think you guys will enjoy it. So I'm going to be working on that. Check out Cujo's Black Label. I'm sorry, Black Book, not Black Label. Black Label is DC. I don't even know why I'm thinking about that. The DC Black Label is pretty stupid, but the Black Book should be pretty dope. Yeah, that's really it. Some Godzilla. I don't really want to review this because, what's there to say? There's not too much to talk about when it comes to Godzilla. He's a nice Neca figure with a nice sculpt, but he's got Neca articulation, so there's not really much to talk about. But anyway, I think that'll do it. As always, I am Strident, and that is my story, and I am sticking to it. And what do I usually? What else can I add in before I leave the way I usually do? I think that's it. So as always, you guys have been great. That's it for me. You've been great. Peace outside.